Welcome back to Backroom Convos. I am your host with the most, Lesego M Report, aka Shoot Your Shot, and maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy like Cairo. It's a new segment on the Friday. I think we've had this segment for 3 weeks now, but we never really had the appropriate name that suits the show. So we are trying out the new name called Bump It Up Friday, of which you'll be listening to all the albums that dropped in 2024. And if there's any album that dropped this year, we're also going to review an album. So don't get it twisted with like the Cartoons Tuesday. Cartoons Tuesday, we only do songs. And the difference between the Pump It Up Friday and the Catches Tuesday is that Tuesdays we do songs, Fridays we do the whole album review, right? So that's the difference between the Cartoons Tuesday segment and the Pump It Up Friday. That's the difference. I had to get it out the way. So how are you? How's your Friday night? I am your host at the most M Daddy Report, aka Shoot Your Shot, and maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy like Cairo. Please do not forget to follow, like, and subscribe to get a notification for each and every time I drop a new episode. So yeah, man, on this week's episode, we are talking about Ntsako, which is Kelvin Momo's album, which dropped on the 13th of December 2024. It has about 24 songs and its length it's 3 hours 23 minutes long. That's an LP. So I don't know how I feel, but like I think we've spoken about this numerous times on the podcast about albums that are long, you know. I think it's somewhere in the catalog of Cartoons Tuesday. I think I've spoken about it in the Cartoons Tuesday segment. I think I've spoken about that a while back. So, and what comes to mind when I say that is that Chris Brown is the artist that comes to mind. He releases a lot of music. When he releases music, it's like music, music, music. It's not like we playing type of music like 12, then you like yeah, it's done. So it's longer. And I'll tell you what my problem is with longer project, longer LPs, you know, which is like a longer LP, like anything beyond 19 tracks is a lot for me. And I think generally, let me just generalize at this point. So you listen to an album, right? You listen to an album. The sequencing is amazing. It's 12 tracks. The sequence is amazing. They found the sweet spot. The arrangement is amazing. The sequencing, 100% on spot. Spot on, everything. But it's a bit tricky to do a sequencing for an album that's 23 songs long. It's like 3 hours. That's a movie, dog. Like not even like you don't even have like movies that run that long. There's like a selected few movies that go for like 3 hours 23 minutes. Not a lot of music can go for that long, you know. So I think an hour 20 minutes for me is what I would prefer. 2 hours is a stretch, but I could do it. But 3 hours of nothing but great music is also acceptable, but I feel like the downside to that is that you get so much music. And someone was speaking about psychology, which if you have more than more than enough choices on your plate, you end up not knowing which one you like more. You know, you tend to have like when you have more options, you don't know what you like. But if you have lesser options, you're like, okay, it's 12 tracks. I like this, and that. Clean, right? So, but if it's like an album that has 23 or like like the Kelvin Momo album, it has 24 songs and it's 3 hours 23 minutes long. It's a bit tricky because first and foremost, Momo is amazing. He's an amazing DJ. He's an amazing producer. For those of you who didn't know, so he dropped an album called Ntsako on the 13th of December 2024. So we're talking about Ntsako. So I think he's amazing. So anything that he drops, Sewe, I think Sewe is like my least favorite albums from the album from the two from the two albums that he dropped this year, because he dropped Ntsako and Sewe was the first album he dropped it this year, and he wrapped it up Ntsako last year. Right, least favorite, and he has like the taste palette, or that guy's taste palette is amazing, because even the way that he samples, amazing. The music, you can tell, but like the music that he listens to is like, jazz. And I think he did speak about it in an interview with T-Boss. I don't remember the year of the interview, but there was a point where he was talking about it with T-Boss on an interview with Kaya FM. So for those of you who haven't watched that episode, please go out and support Kelvin Momo and listen to the episode. Right, I'm a bit sick, so I'm just going to cough in between like the segments. So yeah, which is your favorite Kelvin Momo album that dropped last year? Sewe on Ntsako. So for those of you who didn't know, Kevin Momo is actually Tonga, and I think I did also speak about this. I think in 2023, I did speak about this with Kevin Momo is Tonga, and when I think it's when he released the album Corolla in 2023, when I covered this, it's like, yeah, Kevin Momo released an album Corolla, and Corolla means peace in English, right? And it's Tsonga, right? So he released another album called Ntsako. Ntsako means joy in Tsonga, for those of you who didn't know. So shout out to him firstly for representing his Tsonga and not shying away from the fact that he's Tsonga. It's tricky, and I think it's tricky. The reason I say it's tricky for people who didn't know who the Kelvin Momo is Tsonga, because the name obviously doesn't give away that Kevin. His name is actually Kevin, not Kelvin. His actual name is Kevin, not Kelvin. Kelvin Momo is the stage name. Kevin is his name. Tato Letaba Kevin is his name. Middle there, Letaba is his surname. So he's a music producer, DJ, and songwriter, renowned for his amapiano, sound. For those of you who know private school piano, this is one of the famous album that got him to the charts. So yeah, let's talk. We are talking about Kelvin Momo for those of you who just joined us. So Ntsako is the album that we are talking about reviewing. So you remember there was a point when I spoke about an album that I was enjoying to listen to. The album, like a good, the good song that I said I loved in Kelvin Momo's album. The album is dropping in December. This is the album that I was talking about, and my favorite song in the album is Waziwamuhle. I think a lot of people that listen to the podcast would know, because I spoke about this, because a lot of people, and I know a lot of people on TikTok were also like posting about this specific album. Right, Waziwamuhle is a part of the album. I think it's it is number 7. So Waziwamuhle features Umashudu, features Usino, features Sticks, and obviously the man of the moment, which is Kelvin Momo. Right, so it's 24, and this is what I think. I haven't really listened to the album, the entire album. I've listened to a few songs. Abokoko, I've listened. Shout out to Tato Hadi, Abokoko. Shout out to the musical chef. Shout out to Tracy. Shout out to also Kelvin Momo as well. I've listened to Abokoko. I've listened to Katara. Shapa Katara, I think is the name. Is it Shapa Katara? Yeah, I think it's Shapa Katara. I've listened to Shapa Katara, and I think it's yeah, Shapa Katara. It has Mzizi and Hosi and Ben Rose. Right, it's the last song on the album, the 24th song. It's Shapa Katara. So first song is Four Corners of the World, featuring Mzizi and Kagiso. So shout out to Mzizi and Kagiso. Like Mzizi and Kagiso are the most featured artists in this album outside of Baba. So these are like the two most featured artists in the album. So shout out to them. And I want us to talk about a bit about the side story. You know, it's like, when you review a sequel a sequel of a series, when you like enjoy the series, then you find it there's a sequel of the main, and you start bumping the sequel. You remember what you call this Power. You also had the sequel of Tariq, you had the sequel of the other dude. You had the sequel of that white dude Tommy Egan. You had you had a lot of like sequels which were sharing different perspective, but uh, still carry the storyline of what the series is about. So I think with also the album, I feel like Ntsako has done that pretty well, and as far as marketing as well. So for those of you who follow Mzizi and Sticks, you'd know Guti. They also did an open mic, a jam session, an unplugged session, where they were singing some of the songs that are in the album. You know, they were doing some of the songs that were in this particular album. I think shout out to Usinom Solo as well. Sinom Solo, the song was Wamut. He was doing like different covers each and every week. I saw a Sinom Solo cover about Wazewamut. I think it was doing like crazy, you know. And this is before the album came out. So we saw Sinom Solo releasing those clips in. I think I saw a lot of them on TikTok. So he was releasing a lot of those. And you're like, oh, you start to get a glimpse of what the album is about by just listening to Wazawamuk, you know. And I think after it trended, the small trended, Sinem Solo climbed on like the trend. He surfed the wave as well, and it started doing numbers. People were asking, "Good, when is the song really being released?" In created. I'm so sorry for that. It created the hype around the album that was coming out, which is Ntsako for Kelvin Momo. And shout out, I think generally, people who do marketing for Kelvin Momo and Babalu. You remember when Babalu was about to release her album, when she was about to release her album? Shout out to the song Butat. I love that song. And there's a few other songs that I love. But when she was about to release that, there were rumors that Kelvin Momo is cheating. In the next thing, the album comes out. Amazing work. Shout out to the marketing team. Same applies to this album. The marketing was on point. The marketing was on point. So going back to the story, Sinam Solos was releasing those. And later on, you started seeing album Mzizi. Mzizi was also doing covers as well. Mzizi was doing covers of some of the songs that are within the album, that are in the album, rather. So you started seeing Mzizi doing covers as well with the live band. And like all this time this is happening, Kelvin Momo is not saying anything. And I think it's an amazing strategy for people or the upcoming artists to get the shine before the main artist actually releases the music. So you'd find Uguti in events. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of that. Like there's an opening act before the main act comes to stage. So the opening act, you'd find Uguti it's a smaller artist, so they get to hop on before the main artist comes through. And I think with that marketing strategy, what it said to me, the story that it portrayed to me, was okay, like this is the same in it's in the same parallel of like that opening artist, which is opening for the main act. So like you're doing that but digitally, you are giving yourself the platform, the music to tell your story of what the album says or what the music behind that or your side of the story within the same album. The sequel that I was speaking about the series, and then you get the sequels of the series, the main series. You get sequels of that, like which is like the same storyline but different perspective from different individuals. So it's the same thing, same structure, and it did well to promote the up and coming artists. Shout out to Tato Hatis and Tracy. I think they also did their own thing with the song Abo Gogo. And Kevin Momo actually spoke about Bogogo, the song Bogogo is actually one of his favorite songs. I think when he was in an interview with some dude was interviewing him, and he did mention Uguti Abu Gogo, Bokoko as his song of the year in the album. You know, so with saying that, I think it's a good strategy to promote up and coming artists before. Because if you look at maybe in previous cases where a bigger artist releases a song and you see Osama, you remember Osama? Oh, Mali by 620. Tina Sifuni Mali. Any. So that song, you only know about Six, but you don't know what there's also other guys. I also don't know now, if you ask me. I also don't know some of the guys that worked on that album, or on that project. I don't know. But by so doing, now we're talking about Ntsako, but I know about Tato Heart, I know about Tracy, I know about Kagiso, Shapa Katara Eo, I know about Mzizi, because the platform was provided for them to shine before the main artist comes through. He didn't take all the shine, he provided the platform for them to shine before he releases the entire project. Because I think with Momo, we know that he'll get all the praise and glory from the fans, the people that, he has a cult following. So I know for sure, Guti, people are going to say a lot of things about that. I think he did an amazing job. The marketing did an amazing job as far as like marketing the album, the artist as a whole. And I think a lot of people need to study how this album, like how this specific album was marketed. I think it was genius. And if you want to add on it, you can also look at how Babala's album was marketed. I think it's also genius. You can tell what like there was like the thinking behind it is like impeccable. So shout out to the people that are behind the marketing. I still don't know who was doing the marketing behind the two albums, but I get the sense of it's the same person, or within, like, it's people within the same company. I don't know if your Keenan. You remember we interviewed your Keenan, the CEO of Africa, which is like the distribution company that distributes music for Kelvin Momo, Uncle Waffles. We interviewed the CEO, that guy. I'm not sure if it's his team that was what you call that was marketing the album or pushing it out. If it was, shout out to them. Shout out to your Keenan for that. And I think shout out to him also, because he's so open. He's so open minded. He's like a good listener. And shout out to all the people. I think the one of the reasons I feel like, in my opinion, Africa is doing well as far as like distribution in Africa. I know he spoke about, at some point he spoke about like venturing out and doing other things within like the music scene, and managing artists. I think he did mention that. But he's killing it right now. Everybody, I think Melo and Sleazy also at some point were releasing music under Africa. I think Zexpandini at some point also released music under Africa. So I think it's amazing. The A&R team at Africa is amazing. Shout out to Kelvin Momo. I know this album was released under his label, his music production. Shout out to him as well. Shout out to him and Kabza as well. Because after the rumor, you remember there was a scandal that Kabza owes Kelvin Momo millions. I don't know the millions that he owed him. So there was that entire thing with Piano Hub, because at some point Kelvin Momo was signed under Piano Hub, and there's some of like the money that was not paid to Kelvin Momo, or the money that Kelvin Momo didn't receive. So shout out to them, because when I saw the track list of the album, I was like, oh, like Kabza is there. There's a song. There's a song called Zinolerema. I think it's the name of the song, if I'm not mistaken. It has Mr. Brown and Kabza the Small as features. Yeah, it's Zino Irema. Zino Irema. I think it's the name. I'm trying to think of the name of the song. And Kokoko featuring Mahu as well. Kabza is there. And I'm like, I don't know if these are like some of the songs that were released before the beef, or did he get clearance, or like did they squash it? But shout out to them for that. And if they were able to squash the beef, so we can, benefit from the so we can benefit as far as like music is concerned. So shout out to them. For those of you who haven't subscribed, please do so. I am your host at the most, Lesego M, Data Report, aka Shoot Your Shot, and maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy like Cairo. We've reached the end of the episode. We did 20 minutes of the segment. So what is your high highlights of the episode, do let me on the comment section. I think I told you that we were rebranding this segment to Bump It Up Friday, where we'll be reviewing all albums that are released in 2024, because 2025 is still new. So there's not a lot of artists that are releasing music in January. So we'll be reviewing a lot of like the 2024 albums. So tell me what you think about the segment, and please leave the comments on the comment section, and we'll get back to you. And on Monday we are doing a Monday movie review. For those of you who have movie recommendations, drop them on the comment section, and I'll watch them and give you a review on the Monday morning, or on the Monday episode rather. So yeah, it was a pleasure being with you for the past 21 minutes. And yeah, man, let's meet on another episode of Backroom Convos with Lesego M on Monday. I am your host at the most, Lesego M Daily Report, aka Shoot Your Shot, and maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy Like Cairo. Have a lovely evening, ladies and gentlemen. Cheers.